Welcome back to Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
I'm Jack Wallace. Glad you're here. Glad you're here.
We're friends. We're realtors. This has been really fun doing
We
this.
talk too much, and we're trying to take advantage of it.
Exactly. And hopefully you will laugh a little bit. You will get real about some of the things we're talking about. We're going to tackle all kinds of topics. And if you have a topic you want us to talk about, real estate related,
Or not.
Or not. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm good with anything. I mean, we were both probably the people that got the talks too much in class note every single time. So yeah, no. But I mean, the podcast is about getting real. So if that's something people want us to get real about something else, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Carte blanche, anything you want. All right. Today we're going to talk about hidden moving expenses.
Ooh.
Because when you sell your house, even if you move your stuff yourself, which, oh dear God, no way. No, I'm not doing that. But I did it twice and I will never do that again. I thought Todd and I were going to get a divorce.
Here's a little tip. Don't own a van.
Oh.
I owned a van for years and everyone made fun of me. I was designed, right? So you needed a van. Everyone made fun of me. And because I had a van, like you're the last person I expect to drive a van. And who did they call every time they needed to move something but me? And then guess what? It isn't like they want to just borrow your van and move. They want you to come and help them. So once I sold the van and went to a car, it was like, I'm done with that. No, I'm with that. And then also, I think it was like when I was 34, I was like, you know what? I'm now at the age where I will always pay to have people move me. So I don't need to reciprocate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm so with you on that.
It's so hard, but it's so expensive too. I mean, it is. It's very expensive, and you have to think about that. And that's one thing too. Like, don't pay to move it if you can get rid of it beforehand. If you're going to get rid of it when you get to your new place, get rid of it now. You know, there's Marketplace is a great tool, or or any of those kind of like online auction or sales things are great because you can get people to come and pay you a little bit or not and take the stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a real good process to go ahead and get started and get that stuff out of there instead of that I'm going to move it and then sort it out later is really kind of not the best plan.
I totally agree. And please, please, please be careful. Do tons of research before you hire someone.
Yes.
So my mom, when I moved her here from Lubbock, Texas, the house she lived in for 50 years, I took care of everything. She wanted to take care of setting up the mover.
Okay.
And she hired someone that turns out they are actually a broker. And so what they do is they hire a moving company and then charged her fees on top of that, as opposed to going directly to the amount that they charged her. And
which is really common because they're always looking for, it's always like whenever someone moves you across country, they're looking for a way to pay for the trip back. And so that's not unusual. Now it can work out well if you're with somebody who's really reputable, but man, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah. So when
Sounds like it was.
Oh, it literally, I cried so much. I didn't sleep. I sent my mom to someone else's house to sleep at night, and I would stay up all night long. I researched this company because they show up and were demanding an outrageous amount of money. Well, we have to move. Her house is closing. Yeah. So
it's a good trick, right?
Yeah. I negotiated with them, and then to get her furniture, she's about to be 88. Yeah.
They showed up to an 88-year-old woman's house and were demanding more money because
it was not what she was quoted.
Yeah. Those are people you want to go on and like say their name and exactly who they are and what they did.
Oh, I've already done some TV news stories on it because it was just
that's disgusting.
But I stayed up at night researching. They were out of Florida. So
how do people sleep?
I don't know, but I've filed formal complaints with the Florida Attorney General, the Texas Attorney General, where she lived at the time, the Transportation Commission or Transportation, whatever that one is, and the FCC, because they were talking through all of their stuff on the internet about how they were veteran owned. Well, they aren't, but they made it sound like to my mom they were, so she immediately trusted them. So
Wow.
all that to say, please, please, please go online, do research.
And there are some incredible moving companies.
Absolutely.
Really, really good ones.
And there was a local one here, two fellas that I ended up calling, and they helped me with a lot of things. Like if they, unfortunately, this company didn't do that, but if they charged by the poundage of the truck, the weight of the truck, there's actually, I could have met them at a weigh station in Tulsa and had it weighed to see if it was actually that amount. But the other thing is, you can't short them on the other end because they won't give you your furniture until you give them not a cashier's check,
like a hostage situation,
either cash, or we had to get a check through the postal department. It just, oh my God, it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
so
We Move You they're great, and and they are veteran owned. I mean, there are some really good companies, but I mean, like it is bad though, because if like you can have a company that you really trust and all of a sudden something goes wrong. I mean, there's going to be things that go wrong, but a lot of it has to do with like, are they hiring temp workers every day? Are they,
which was a real problem during COVID because so many people were moving. So anyway, I use my mom's story as an example of do your homework on the front end, research,
demand
look at
a lot of references,
reviews. Don't just look at websites, because we found out that this brokerage had like 10 different names they were looking at. So like mom had looked at most of their brokerage.
Wow.
It just, oh my gosh.
So like Google reviews and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really important.
So be careful, because those could be some hidden expenses that are really, really bad.
And then some companies they'll pack you, and some you pack, and some you do a hybrid of those. So you're going to have, packing materials, packing supplies.
Yes. So that's going to be the first thing. You are going to pay for packing supplies one way or the other.
Yeah.
If you get yourself together, then, you're going to have to buy your boxes and tape and newspapers or whatever, wrapping paper. If they wrap it for you, you're still going to be paying for it. You're just going to be paying them.
Right.
And the one thing, don't skimp on. I don't mind. There's a place here called Half Price Boxes. They have great boxes, great paper, not good tape. So please do not skimp on your tape when you move. You will be so happy that your boxes don't fall apart.
So it needs to be Cindy approved tape.
Yes, some really sticky, good stuff.
Cindy approved tape. No, it is funny though. Like there's so many sources for things, and it's just overwhelming. You're tired, you're like scared, you're upset, you're mad at each other.
Yeah.
All those things, and it's like the last thing you're thinking about is the quality of the tape, until you get the quality of the tape and it's just not sticking. Yeah, it's really, I think the biggest thing though too is, there's something nice about the fact that if they're responsible for it, with getting there without breaking. So, sometimes penny safe and pound foolish, because, if you're packing it and it breaks,
sorry,
that's on you. But if they pack it and it breaks, there's a little bit of recourse.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I will say the guys that moved mom, they only broke like two things. The company that this brokerage hired to move her was amazing.
Oh, good.
But that's just good. All the fees on top. Okay. So we mentioned packing supplies. Also, now we've kind of got into that a little early, but professional movers, just do your research if that's what you're going to do. And, if you want to hire high school kids to help you, I mean, that's great, but they may scratch your furniture. So just, keep some of those things in mind.
Are there really a lot of high school kids?
You would be amazed. Oh, really? Well, because Peyton played football at Union.
Got it. That makes sense.
So a lot of my friends, when they were just moving close here in town, they would hire him and several of his O-linemen to help them move some stuff. So
that's cool.
That's a good idea. We had to make sure they weren't responsible for anything. Yeah. They were great kids, never broke anything. So that's good.
But they're kids.
Yeah, they are kids. Temporary housing is another expense you may not think about, because what if your building and your house isn't ready when your other house sells, or you haven't found where you're going?
Well, even if you're moving in town, in Oklahoma, typically you pack up your house, you have your stuff in the truck, you go in, you close, and then your stuff gets delivered to your new house. So you don't pack up in the morning, close, and then magically get to your other. I mean, usually you're without your house for a day or two. You're going to have to stay in a hotel or with a parent or a friend or somebody during that period. So
Mhm.
and then if you move across country, or if you get delayed, like that's another one. If the title work or something happens to get delayed. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, just again, these are hidden expenses that you may think, oh, I'm just going to pay the moving company, or I'm going to save all this money because my friends are going to come do it.
Yeah.
Just remember, some of these things are in there. Storage fees. I've had a lot of clients that were in between houses, or they moved from someplace else, and they just needed to store their stuff, and storage is expensive.
It's an incredible business. I mean, it really is. And there's lots of these Tulsa, they're just going up everywhere. There's just a storage place everywhere. But, it's like that way you keep it from being in your garage.
Yeah. Bring that up again.
Sorry,
All
no,
right.
I'm just kidding. No, but it really is funny because it's like I have a rule for myself where if I'll put stuff in a box and I put it in the garage. And then if I haven't gone and gotten the stuff out of the garage, out of that box in 6 months or a year, then I get rid of it. I don't store it.
Yeah.
Like I really try to monitor it, because it's kind of like, I try even in my garage, like I don't need 4 rolls of tape.
Right.
And if I've bought 4 things of duct tape, I'm not a duct tape user. So like, I'm not going to save for it. So a lot of times it's like, you feel like you're being wasteful, but if you're going to pay storage to get rid of something, to hold something that you're not going to ever use, then that's a problem. But, there is stuff, you have family stuff or stuff you don't quite know if the big thing is you sometimes move to a place and you don't know if you're going to need it or use it, or if your kids are going to want it in, a year. I find that to be a lot with a lot of my friends. They're putting it in storage because their kids may want it. The funny thing is 9 out of 10 times the kids are like, I don't want your old stuff.
I ask them now, Marlo, do you like these dishes?
No.
And generally the answer is no. So I'm like, all
Mom,
right, then
yuck.
We're going to go on Facebook Marketplace and when you're ready and find some that you do like. So, but yeah, so storage fees.
It is funny how we're not as sentimental as we used to be. Like as a society, we aren't. Everyone, I mean, this is so awful, but and he would love me telling the story. But Charles, we would go to these
Charles Padre.
We would go to people's houses, and they would just be like, they would be so upset because he would say, "Oh, that's terrible. I hate that," and people would say, "Well, that was my mom's. She let him." He'd go, "Mom is dead." He goes, "She would understand. Let it go." I mean, because it's like you really do. You're holding on to stuff, and he said, "Well, would she want it in a closet, or would she want it somebody using who loves it?"
Oh,
and I love that.
Yeah,
it's like I had my grandmother did ceramics, and she would make these figurines that big figurines, and she'd paint your name on it. And so I had on a motorcycle, bagpipe, like all that from growing up. And so when I was like 30 years old, and I got them out of a box, and I had a garage sale, and I sold like 7 of them as a series. This Jack hand painted on, and this woman came through and said, "Oh, my grandson's name is Jack, and he's gonna love these." And I said, "Well, my grandmother would love that," and she did those for me. And the woman said, "Oh my gosh, your grandmother's just rolling over in her grave." And I said, "No, she's actually really excited because she'd rather that young kid would love them than them be in a box in my garage." I mean, you really do have to think about if you're not going to use it and it's not important to you, somebody might and somebody will. And if not, then throw it away. But I mean, yeah.
And you've touched on one of my pet peeves, and it's very much the difference between my mother and me. If I have something, I'm going to use it.
I'm with you.
Every time I get out my Waterford crystal, my mom's like, "Oh, you can't use that." Well, Mom, then why did I get it as a wedding gift?
Yeah.
I've been married 32 years. Yep, I'm gonna use it. So if it's at my house, I don't have anything just to look at. I mean, maybe some art.
But that's generational too. Remember the formal living rooms?
Oh yeah.
It was like, I remember as a kid, my aunt had one. We never did. My aunt had a formal living room. It was like, oh my gosh, who is good enough to sit in the formal living room? I don't think anybody ever went to the formal living room in her house.
And it's always white couches, so you couldn't sit on it.
Yeah, just so interesting. But I kind of understand it more now because it was pretty. I mean, you looked at it, but it's like, I'm not that. I want it to be something I use.
I agree.
Yeah.
So my mom, every time just cringes when I use something that's just supposed to be pretty in your china cabinet or whatever. And I'm like, nope. Or, some fancy dress. Yes, I'm wearing it. I bought it. I'm going to wear it.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to wear it, then again, like you were saying, I want to find somebody who will enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, we talked about this last time. You just start becoming overwhelmed with your stuff. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And also we're in a much, let's be honest, in defense of our parents and in our grandparents, we live in a much more abundant society of stuff. So like there's always, I mean, my grandma had the same couch my entire life. Same fabric, same couch, and no one ever thought anything about it. It was just the way it was. I mean, they would buy furniture when they got married, and they would have it until the day they died, basically. I mean, it's
yeah.
Do you know anybody that has that now? I mean, who has the same couch they had 10 years ago? Very few people.
No.
Yeah, I mean, but it's and they don't build them the same, but in the same respect, it was just our tastes change like that.
Yeah,
like I think about it as a designer. My gosh, how difficult it would be now for some of my friends who were in design 30, 40 years ago. Their style would be, no one would want it now.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of interesting how everything has just shifted so much.
And a side note to that, because I get this from a lot of my sellers who spent $10,000 on a dining room set, and they expect that when they sell it, because they're downsizing, they're still going to get 10,000. Well, no, somebody can go to, go on Amazon and order, a $300 dining table.
I will say, if somebody was really smart, which I'm not, but if somebody was really smart right now, they would be buying up really good antiques, because
it will come back.
I've seen this phase before.
Yep.
And people think they'll never come back, but when they come back, and I'm starting to see it, you're starting to see it. But when that comes back, people will want all that stuff that now no one wants. But it's like you just have to keep it and hold it during that time period. But it would be an opportunity for some people to be doing that.
My house is very eclectic.
Yeah.
Because I do have things that are, I'm an only child, that are really special for my family, that I just make it all work together.
See, I like old stuff. I like new and I like old. If everything is brand new to me, I don't, I think there's something about, we say this in the design world, it has a hand to it. And like, when a fabric has a feel to it, or like, wood has a certain feel. I mean, like different things have a different, so I wanted to have different textures and different feels.
I'm a texture person.
Yeah, and so I think a house has to have layers of that to be really interesting.
Yeah,
I can't have, unless you're going for like that really kind of Malibu minimalist start. But how many houses really you're going to do that in? You're really not. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of being ready for that. We completely got off subject.
And welcome to the podcast.
All right. Now we're going to talk about utility setups and cancellation fees.
Yeah. So, you need to realize that, maybe if you cancel, you may get your deposit back. You may not. They may charge you a fee. But definitely when you set up your new utilities, you're going to have that.
And if you're going from one company to another company, you'll have to get your deposit back and you'll have to put a new deposit down. If you're going company to company, then you have to do, usually you can kind of shift it over. The one thing that you will have to do, and this is where people get confused and don't understand this a lot of times, but most of the time what you do is the seller says they're going to be moving, they've sold it, they're going to be moving, and then they give permission for the new people to transfer it over. So they basically come the day of and they check the meter and they start a new clock on it, but they never actually turn everything off and turn it back on, which is really good, because when you're moving, the last thing you want is to show up at the house and the electric be off or the gas to be off. So that's really important. And if you've never had utilities because you've lived in an apartment, you don't even think about that. So you really want to make sure and get a good list of where your utilities are. And it's different because if you're in the city of Jinx, I think in the city of Jinx, if you have water, you have to actually go down to the city and put the deposit down for the water. Like all of them have a little bit of a different. And then over in the Bixby area, there's an electric company that's out of Okmulgee that shifts over to, and it's a good company. But it's all kind of different. So you can be the city of Jinx water, and then you can be Okmulgee for your electric. And I mean, so you just have to know what it is you're getting into.
And your agent can help you with a lot of those things. I mean, if you're
And as a seller,
selling,
it's
you're
a
gonna
really
know.
good thing as a seller to provide all of that information. A good seller and a good agent's going to get the seller to get all that information and have it ready, because it's, I mean, if you're in the city of Tulsa, it's kind of straightforward. But when you get into the other cities, it really does get where it shifts around and changes.
I ask my sellers actually if they can, like if they have this beautiful yard or this incredible pool, could you just list the name and number of the company that you use or the person you've hired?
Right.
Because the buyers coming in, especially if they're from outside the city or have never had a pool before or whatever, it's just nice for them to at least possibly use that person and it continue looking the same way.
And those trades people would love probably to keep their job.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, so that's a good idea.
When they see the for sale sign go up in the front yard, they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
All right, address change. So there are, there may be fees associated with it, but you've got legal documents that you need to change, your driver's license. You need to order new checks if you use checks. I don't use checks, but, and I wrote this down, the new address cards, but I guess you'd probably these days just text everybody, email them. But there are going to be some things that you're going to need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, gosh, even your things you don't think about, your food delivery, like that needs to change because they'll deliver your food to your old address.
Yeah.
Your like Uber settings. I don't know if I don't really use Uber that much, but like your home address. I mean, some of those that are like you don't think about, your app stuff, Prime. That's a big one.
All your credit cards, so some of these things may not have fees, but it's going, time is money. So it is going to cost you some.
Well, it does have a fee if you're expecting a check to be sent to your house that doesn't get there and you have a delay of 2 weeks so that's, you just want to really make sure.
Next, cleaning services, and it's great. It
is not standard in Oklahoma. It is not standard for the seller to have a professional person clean their house. Now, also you have to understand, most people are moving out and then you're moving in. They don't have the luxury of not being in the house for 2 or 3 days to have a cleaning crew come in and clean their house. So a lot of I will suggest to my clients is that they have somebody come and do, like, their cleaning person or somebody come in and go over it real quick afterwards. So meaning it's common courtesy to get that, but it is certainly not legally expected. It is not contractually expected unless you put it in the contract.
Yeah.
So if you want to move into a house that you feel like is really clean, you're probably going to have to pay to have it clean.
Yeah. So, and a lot of times, if it's not a company that you've used before, I mean, they know that they're going to have to go in and do a deep cleaning. It's going to cost more money than the normal cleaning.
And then the thing to remember too is people say, well, I'll clean it myself. Well, your cleaning stuff is packed up.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, first of all, don't pack your cleaning stuff. Put that in your car, your truck, or whatever.
Most of the moving companies won't even move your cleaning stuff.
That's
cleaning
true.
stuff, paint, stuff like that could be explosive.
So that may not be a big deal, but so that cleaning service is a big one, and also just your yard cleanup, all that stuff. That there's an expectation that the people that are moving out are going to do a lot of things and they don't, because they've done what they're supposed to do, and then they're out.
Yeah. All right. Home repairs and improvements. So you move into this house that may or may not be new, but chances are it's not. There are going to be little things. Maybe you negotiated repairs and they didn't want to change the outlets or the GFI. Is that what it's called? What's it called?
GFCI. Ground fault circuit interrupter.
That's why I love you.
Yeah. Because I'm a nerd.
So me too, unfortunately. But if you're going to have to replace that, that's going to
or just making it your own. Everybody wants to do a little something here, paint a little something here, do a little to make it their own house. So I think that's kind of that part of it. But then the other side of it is that moving is brutal. Like, stuff gets banged up, knocked, and some of it you can sometimes you go back on people when they were moving out and the moving company did something, but a lot of times you're gonna have to do a little bit of paint touch up and stuff. The one thing also, really try to make sure you get, if they have it, that they leave the paint touch up.
Yes.
I've had people get so mad and insist that they get everything out of the garage, and they'll have them throw away all of the paint cans that had all. I'm like, I'd rather have nasty old paint cans that don't mean anything that I have to get rid of to get the ones that do have meaning.
Yeah, so I can take that
Mhm.
down to Home Depot or wherever, or
Mhm.
Sherwin-Williams, and have them match that color.
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
and one thing we talked about this a little bit. I did have some clients that when they get into a new house, they go in and they change all the light bulbs at one time into like the same light bulbs, and so it's like they start that with the LED kind of that are the same light throughout the house, and also they all go in at the same time. So there's sort of like the lifestyle of that. The air vent filters, change all those the day that you're moving in,
I
or
like that.
like or real quick.
But you're gonna have to buy all that. So
Yeah, but it's a
definitely
good
an
idea. It's a good
expense.
reset. Like I was thinking of, maybe get new batteries to put into your, smoke detector and all that, because you don't know how they are, and so like they could be beeping in the middle of the night in a week.
Yeah.
So some of those things just to
Which
kind
you
of
know that'll
start it
happen.
all at the start it all kind of at the beginning. Yeah.
So you've got those necessary things you need to do, but also another expense are new home necessities. So, if they didn't have draperies on the windows, which draperies are supposed to stay with the house unless you've made an exception.
But in new construction, most of the time there are no blinds or anything. Yeah. You're going to have something.
Yeah. So, drapes, just other things, maybe you get your couch in there and figure out your couch doesn't fit. You may have
One good tip on that is that you can go to Home Depot and Lowe's, and they do the paper accordion that have the sticky top, and that's a really good way if you want to get in and have some covering for when you first move in until you get something.
So your neighbors don't really get to meet you.
Yeah, they're very inexpensive. And what I always kind of laugh about is, it used to be people would put sheets and they would like thumbtack them up. And it was just sort of funny because you would drive by like a year later and they still have a sheet up in that window. And now it's like they still have that paper accordion. And the paper ones, they actually look pretty darn good.
Yeah, they do.
So it's funny. They stay up a lot longer than people usually anticipate. But that's a really good, it's a good tip. And you can get them cut to any size. So,
yeah. So they're just going to be things for your home that you maybe didn't need for your old one. Let's say it has an outdoor kitchen and you never had grilling equipment. You're going to be investing in a few things so you can get out there and make a hamburger or a steak.
Right.
All right. So finally is eating out.
Speaking of hamburger and steak.
Yeah. Great segue. Eating out, because your kitchen may not, it'd be awesome if the movers put everything away and everything was done in a day and your kitchen was all set up, but it's just not the reality.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then also, it's even the crock pot, maybe you think, well, I'll just put a roast on but it's like that's packed away and you haven't gotten to it yet and you're exhausted and you don't really want to, or you order pizza so you can eat pizza and over, a week or so that adds up. It definitely does. It's also a good thing, if you have someone who's moving to a new house, that's a really nice thing to do for people is like send them, pizza or something while they're kind of transition. It's kind of a nice housewarming gift. It's hard to know what to give people because people have their own taste and stuff, but like that's something people really kind of need at the beginning. It's kind of like when people have a death in the family or illness. It's a transition. So it's a nice thing that people really remember you did for them. Yeah.
A friend of mine who actually had open heart surgery, has nothing to do with moving, but it makes a point. We got him because we didn't know what his diet was going to be after his surgery. So we got, I think, Uber Eats, one of those.
Great idea.
And we all got together and gave him a gift card that he could just order off of that, whatever he wanted. So since then, I've been doing that for a lot of my clients.
Or even Instacart, something where they can even get groceries delivered, because then they could stock their refrigerator, like you don't bring groceries typically you throw most of that stuff away. So like, to even just not have to go to the grocery store to get some stuff in the house is not a bad idea.
My favorite of all is called Shipt. I know. Sounds like I'm saying a bad word, but I'm not. It's SHIPT. And like for here, they have, I don't know.
So was that a marketing genius or a marketing fail? I don't know.
So, but you remember it.
Happens.
Exactly. So, but they work with Reese's, Target, PetSmart. I mean, there's just a whole bunch at Walgreens. And if you sign up with them, then anytime you need to have something delivered, if you're sick or you just don't have time to get groceries, this works long past your move. I use it all the time for mom. So
that's cool. That's really cool. And that's kind of stuff that's clever and you can do for somebody, or, or help them, or you can do for yourself for sure. But I think it's really the biggest thing when it comes down to it is just the realization that you're going to have all the stuff that we're going to, tell you from the beginning. You have expenditures, your homeowner's insurance and your, all those things. But there's a lot of stuff that, it is not, you don't just magically change locations. There's
and if you're moving
expenses.
across country, you're going to have hotel rooms and, more.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And, and that's even, and the other thing too, is like, if you're in a relocation package or getting a relocation package from your company, most time these things, they kind of address this and that's part of your package.
mhm.
But if you don't have that package, that this is what you're going to have to pay for. So
Yeah.
it's really important. The other thing that's really good too is a lot of people now will look online and do like Airbnb and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of a cool way to do like a night or two. I even say it's not a bad idea to do like the first night or two that you're going to be in your house, find an Airbnb near you. And then that way you don't have to have the bed set up. You can go sleep,
Mhm.
or, if you just don't want to sit in the middle of all the boxes, you can go. Some people just want to be, I kind of want to be in my new house, I think, kind of
Yeah.
person. But if, especially if you have kids,
Mhm.
like even if one of the people wants to take the kids and like let them watch TV, play video games, and go to sleep while you stay and unpack and do stuff, it's just, instead of everybody kind of there. But the Airbnb thing can be really good. And I've even had clients find it like in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then it's like really
That's a
great
great
because then
idea.
they're right there. So
Yeah.
It's cool.
Awesome. Well, those are your hidden expenses. Let us know if we missed anything on moving that.
Yeah, that's something I'd really love to hear from other
Mhm.
people. Like, what were your experiences that something you didn't expect
Yeah.
that came up? Because, it's like, those are always things that we're trying to figure out for people and kind of help people make them aware of what they should expect. It's just, there's so much to consider when you're moving that it's an easy thing to not think about. So, yeah.
And along those lines, we'd love to hear topics that you would like Jack and I to talk about. So again, just let us know. You can reach us on social media, send us an email, whatever is comfortable for you. And we would love to hear from you.
Let's get real.
Yeah, let's do
And what do you
get
really
real.
want to talk about?
Absolutely. All right. Have a great week, and we will talk to you again next Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.